We're back with another snapshot. This is snapshot 25W35A. Now, a lot of people thought we would see pre-releases this week, and it seems like that is not the case. Now, this one, once again, brings a lot of changes. There is no new features, like Minecraft did confirm a few snapshots ago, but there are plenty of bug fixes and changes we can cover, so let's jump straight to them. Now, Minecraft have made a change in this version, where copper chests that are summoned by spawning a copper golem, they will now connect correctly to chests that are next to them. I'm not exactly sure what this means, because this always did happen, unless there was a bug where some cases they wouldn't connect. But you did see right there that we had one oxidized version, and then if I spawn a normal one, it seems to go to the lowest state. Let me quickly just try this again, this time doing it the other way around. So if we quickly just grab a oxidized copper block, and then I was to do it this way, so let's place one there. And then if I was to spawn that, once again, you can see it goes to the lowest stage. Now, in this snapshot, Minecraft have adjusted the hitbox once again of the copper golem. They can now fit under one block. This means a copper golem will be able to walk straight through this hole if it needed to. Now, another thing that Minecraft have changed in this version is when the copper golem is given a flower by an iron golem. Before this update, the iron golem would place the flower within the mob's head slot, while it is now placed within the mob's saddle slot. And this just means that you can now place, for example, helmets in their head slot. So data pack makers and things like that can use their armor slots if they wanted to, without the flower taking up one of them armor slots. This does also mean that if you are running a command to equip a item on, let's quickly just see if I've got one right here. Yes, here we go. So instead of placing this in the head slot, if you see, if I do this, it places it in the head slot, but not on top of its lightning rod like the flower does. It places it in the actual head slot now, which I think is a good change. And if I was just to quickly show you what this is like, so let's quickly just do it for the poppy, which is the default item. You can see it now just renders like the poppy if it was to go on the player's head. If I quickly just change this to saddle, is it called saddle? Yes, it is. There we go. That is what it will look like when the iron golem places it. So you can see the difference. So just placing the banner in the saddle slot, you can see the difference. It's placed on top of the lightning rod rather than on the back of its head. Now, they are the main changes to the copper golem. There are a lot of new game rules in this update, which I'm very excited about. And these are mainly for the server properties, because they have removed a lot of the options in server properties, and they have basically made them game rules. So let's quickly just cover some of them. The first one is PvP, and this is if players can interact and kill other players. Now, by default, this is set to true, but if you want to disable PvP within your world, you can now do that with a game rule. You no longer need to alter the server configs. This does also mean that command blocks can now enable and disable PvP at any point. The next one is allow entering nether portals. Now, once again, by default, this will be set to true, and you can enable or disable this by setting it to false if we quickly just grab some obsidian. Now, if this is set to false, you will still be able to light nether portals. As you can see, you just won't be able to enter the block. I am standing in it, and you can see the animation is playing, but I will never ever go to the nether. So this is good if you want to disable the nether within your world. The next game rule is spawn monsters. Once again, by default, this is set to true, and this is just if monsters spawn. Now, there isn't a set list of what monsters this affects, but I'm guessing it's ones that are naturally spawned. So things like zombies, skeletons, spiders, creepers, endermen, and things like that. I'm not too sure if it will affect structure mobs like pigling brutes. And then the final game rule, which we are going to cover, is enable command blocks. Once again, by default, this is set to true, but if for whatever reason you don't want command blocks enabled, you can disable them. And if I quickly just give myself a command block, so if I was to enter a command here, let's just run /clear, you can see in chat it says command blocks are not enabled on this server, and the command block will be cleared. It will not save anything you enter. So this is good just so people can't abuse these within servers, although command blocks are only for creative players anyway. And for anyone who didn't know, you can't place command blocks in survival mode. They have also made some changes where these are now updated in name. As you can see, the name of them is now Iron Chain. Before, they only updated the display name, but the code name is now updated as well. So if you are using things like /give @s Iron Chain, it will no longer work if you just type in chain. This does also mean if you have structure blocks and custom structures using them, you might have to update them. Now, one other thing that Minecraft have changed is the recipes for the hanging signs. There was a bug, or it was classed as a bug, where you could craft hanging signs using the copper chains. Well, this is now removed, and it only allows the iron chains. You can see replacing the iron ones with copper chains will no longer let the recipe work. Quickly jump into the patch notes. Minecraft have added support for that language. I'm not too sure what language that is. And they've also made a lot more changes to server management protocol. Now, I'm not going to cover this because I don't understand it too much. And honestly, I don't really know what to say about it. But you can pause the video if you want to read it. It seems like they've got a lot of different things you can adjust and things like that. They have also made some new UI changes, which when adding a new server to the servers list, the name is no longer pre-filled. When left empty, the default name is used. So this now means that that slot will be empty by default. They've also made some changes to the mouse cursor. Some UI components will now change the shape of the mouse cursor. You did see that when I was typing in the game rules. It now changes to the enter part when you are hovering over the chat. And then there are more server property changes right here, which we covered kind of, but they've removed the property for allow never, spawn mobs, enable command blocks, PvP, because these are now done by gamerules. And they've also added some new server properties as well. For example, management server enabled, and this is controlling whether the new server management protocol is enabled or not. You then have management server port, management server host, and then status heartbeat interval. Now, there are also some changes to text rendering. I, once again, don't know how to do this, so sadly I can't showcase it, but it is now something you can do. A few snapshots ago, they made it so you can render sprites on signs. And it seems like you can now render player heads on signs. Now, they have fixed a lot of bugs to do with copper golems. The first one is if a copper golem was on a lead, they would still try to pathfind to chests. This is now fixed, and as you can see, they are no longer caring about the chests. If a copper golem was to die while they are looking in a chest, they would continue. Well, now if they was to die, they will stop looking in the chest and do their dying animation. And also, there was sometimes sea fighting when they would do certain animations. They are now also fixed. There was also a bug where copper golems wouldn't avoid certain dangerous blocks when pathfinding to chests. So for example, they'd walk straight over magma blocks, fire, powdered snow. Well, now you can see they go around them. There was also quite a few bugs with holding the shelf blocks where they would be floating in the player's hand when in certain views, and you can now see they are rendered closer to the player's hand. There was also a bug where the copper golems required 3 blocks of air above a chest to open it. Well, you can now see that is no longer the case. They are still opening this chest with 1 block of air, and it doesn't seem like they can open it with solid blocks above, just like players can't. But they can still open it if there is 1 air block. And then the final bug that I'm going to mention is a lot of mobs inside of mob spawners and trial spawners would be incorrectly lit and also have incorrect shadows. But anyway, that is where I'm going to end this video. There are a lot more bug fixes, but a lot of them are ones that are not worth mentioning. Once again, the patch notes will be linked in the description if you do want to check them out. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in another one very soon.